Students come mostly from the DC area, but we hope that students will come from Maryland, will come from Virginia. And we do work with the DC Arts and Humanities Education Collaborative for the DC Public Schools. The Daughters of the American Revolution, their members are very generous, and their generosity allows us to provide free school programs. Patterns and Shapes is for students, kindergarten through 3rd grade, and it's to connect them to quilts through math concepts. So kindergartners will look at squares and triangles and diamonds, and we'll realize that you can put together 2 triangles to make a square. And then you might put together a whole bunch of squares to either make a larger square or to make a rectangle. Then as the children get older, they're looking for more complex shapes, a rhombus or a parallelogram. And we do have those in quilts. And so they're using observational skills and math to engage with the quilts. But also Patterns and Shapes, they also learn about social history. Quilts were not made in a vacuum. They were made mostly by women, but also by men. And so they get to find out the role and the functionality that it played in the home. We see our quilts in our period rooms. And we also have our teaching collection so kids can actually feel the quilts. And they also learn about what makes up a quilt. You have 2 layers and you have the batting and what the quilts are made from, mostly cotton fabric. And so we have some cotton and even wool that the kids can feel. And then what's even important is that kids understand that those shapes and the designs have names. Some of the names are kind of silly, and that's important to the kids because they can make their own paper design, and then they give it a name. And some of those names are pretty bizarre, and kids love that. And that kind of helps with the conversation, too, in terms of engaging with the quilts. Commerce of Quilts is a new program, and it was developed just for Eye on Elegance. And this is for 4th and 5th graders, and they learn about quilts through the business of fabric. And the fabric for these amazing quilts came from England and France by ship. And then the kids learn about movement of goods and then about consumerism, about the purchase of the fabric from shopkeeper to the customers, which would be the women themselves. And the one big thing about this is role-playing. We are creating this wonderful role-playing opportunity where the children come and they work in groups together, and they can either be customers or they can be shopkeepers. And by using math conversion of converting like inches to yards and then currency of the time period, the customers have to find out how much fabric they need to make a quilt, and so they have to convert inches to yards and then how much that's going to cost. We have had students walk into our gallery and see the quilts and say, wow, I had no idea. We want the students to have that sense of awe.